Let's get back to the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, or MOMA, this afternoon says the scarcity of aviation fuel, or Jet A1, is a global issue and not peculiar to Nigeria. The major oil retailing company says in a two-page statement that the increase in jet fuel prices was due to the ongoing Russia war in Ukraine, impacting cost of freight, insurance, among other things. The statement from MOMA comes as the Union of Domestic Airline Operators withdrew their plans to suspend flight operations effective today. Babatunde Irukera is the Executive Chairman and CEO of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection, and he joins me now live from our Abuja studios. Thanks for coming through this evening, sir. We appreciate you making the time.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you so much for making it here. Of course, this is a very important moment we're looking at, considering how critical Nigeria's aviation is to Nigeria in terms of transportation and the economy. Where are we this evening on the airlines operators' withdrawal of flight services? I'm sure you've had meetings all day. Can you bring us up to speed right now?
Well, so the good news is that at least flights are still operating. It's a fragile situation. We're optimistic that with each day there will be some kind of a resolution that pushes us towards some stability. It's been quite a road. The weekend was quite a difficult and challenging weekend of engagement, but I'm happy that somehow the airline operators understood what the situation was and they demonstrated some uncommon patriotism to at least work with the government to find a path through this.
What were the key issues at play, in particular for your agency, the FCCPC, in this particular development? What's at play for you?
Good. So there were three things, maybe four. When we saw the information about airline operators potentially downing tools, because we were not a part of any discussions before that decision came. First thing for us was, first, what would happen to consumers? What about tickets that had been sold? What would this disruption translate to? What does it mean for consumer protection, and what does it mean for competition? Section 108 of the FCCPA prohibits any conspiracy or arrangement or agreement to limit the means of supply or the supply of any services. And so collaborative effort by a professional association to limit supply of a service certainly would look like an offense against competition. But subsection 2 of that same provision exempts certain conduct, especially when it's for professional integrity, standards, or protection of the public safety. And so, considering the sensitivity of aviation, understanding that jet fuel constitutes a significant portion of the cost of operation, and then even the integrity of the jet fuel itself are key sensitive issues to safety, we quickly took a decision that we would not consider this particular action as a conspiracy to injure competition. Instead, we would look at it more from an exception standpoint. The next issue for us became the consumer protection issue. And one big issue was that we tried to sample consumer feedback. And what we saw was that the airlines were still selling tickets, even for the proposed date for which the shutdown was to occur. And so the next thing for us was to immediately engage. We started out engaging the MOMAN, who you just spoke with, to get a better understanding of what the situation was and what efforts or initiatives could be pursued to promote some level of stability. We then engaged the AON. Over the weekend, I spoke directly with a number of the chief executives of the airlines, and we put out a statement about what we thought and how we thought the process would work. The Ministry of Aviation also corroborated what the FCCPC had done. And so I'd say that the diplomacy and the engagement over the weekend, and also the statements by the government and its agencies assisted with ensuring that we did not have a shutdown today. And I'd say that, that's a success, but it's just, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. The airlines had planned to increase airfare some time ago, in which your agency waded in. Was that part of the current issues that airline operators are looking at? Is the FCCPC, is your agency still on top of that?
So, yeah, and one of the dilemmas they expressed was, here you are as the regulator, you have a problem with us increasing fares, yet you're unable to stop the cost of jet fuel. And so the approach we've taken to relax the situation is that every airline should price its services in accordance with its own revenue model. There's going to be no mutual understanding on the increase in airfares. Any such discussion will be against the law. Now, with respect to aviation fuel, if airlines want to get together to address the supply issue from the same source at the same price, even though typically those are input costs that should be independent and fiercely competed, we would understand that and we would relax the rules with competition in the supply chain. We're also looking at the members of MOMAN and others who sell jet fuel and analyzing the information we have to see if there's any profiteering or taking advantage of what is the unfortunate situation of a war to inordinately or unjustly increase what had been acceptable margins.
Are there wider issues in Nigeria consumer protection that the present airline flight suspension has brought to the fore for you at FCCPC?
Well, so the biggest thing that we're very concerned about is just unbundling or unlocking the age-long way that business has been done in Nigeria that has prevented our markets from being optimal, and that is coordinated conduct. It's what our issue was with the AON in the first place. It's what the issue is now. It's coming at a time where you're reading in the press also that telecoms operators on the platform of an association are also asking for a 40% increase in the cost of in the subscription cost. In reality, all this coordinated conduct are the fiercest confrontation and challenge to fairness. To the extent that each business is able to price its services in a manner that is competitive, we are more likely to get far better value for money, and consumers will be more satisfied. And there is a point where pricing can be too low, which is understood to be predatory pricing. But that's a completely different thing than businesses coming together to decide what price should be or what percentile an increase should be. And because this is happening in very sophisticated and important industries like airlines or telecoms, the regulatory and the businesses are very sophisticated businesses. We, as a regulator, we're taking a very strong position against that. And we would address this in a strong way, not just because of the conduct, but because we realize that addressing this and penalizing it strongly is the most important way to ensure that it's not continuing anymore.
We thank you for your time on the show this evening. Have a wonderful evening. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming through. Babatunde Irukera, Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer at the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, or FCCPC.